up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Yes, Your Educational Story. What's up, Emerge Group? Good to see you. Trevor Narain is in the house, is in the building. Trevor Narain is tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to seeing him. J Baby Eyes, I see you. Diesel D, what's going on? Madison is in the house. Madison Lee is here with us. Ryan Lee is here with us. Antoinette Lee is here with us. What's going on? Shout out to the Lee family. Shout out to Tamara. What's going on? Deb is joining us. What's going on, party people? Good to see you guys. J Baby Eyes. Miss Lizzie, what's going on? Good to see you. Ray Matt, what's good? Good to see you guys. So welcome back to another episode of Yes, Your Educational Story. And tonight's episode is Florida rum cake, all the way from Florida. Shout out to Florida. Shout out to the rum cake. We're going to get into that. Kevin Aguilar. Good to see you, Kev. Always a pleasure. Kawan is in the house. What's up, Kawan? BX in the building. So yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I buried my brother, Corcel Smallhorne. And of course, you know, I'm dedicating this show to him. And if you know anything, yes, thank you guys. You know, if you know anything about what happened, my brother contracted COVID, and he fought a valiant fight, but unfortunately, the monster known as COVID-19 won in the end. However, my brother was a very caring, loving, you know, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. My brother put up numbers in terms of amount of people he loved, the number of amount of people loved him, you know, the support that he gave individuals. So my baby brother, while he was here, was amazing, simply an amazing, humble human being. So I'm dedicating this episode and probably every episode, because he's here with me right now in spirit, you know, watching over not only myself, but my mom. And shout out to my mom going through this. No one ever wants to bury a child. Shout out to my mom, who is my rock, strong. And if you know anything, you know, my mom immigrated to the country and sacrificed so much. I didn't meet her till I was 6 years old. She came back to Jamaica to get me. And, you know, we landed in this small village called Brownsville, Brooklyn, as you know by now. My zip code 11212 back then. Never run. Brownsville, never run, never will. But shout out to my mom. And I just want to say a special thank you to all of you who supported us through this 4 to 5 weeks of a very trying, a very challenging time. So thank you all for the support, the prayers, the love. Thank you. Once again, my brother, we buried him yesterday, 43 years of age, but an amazing human being. So shout out to Corcel Smallhorne. Also, we started, Corcel leaves behind 3 boys, Christian, Caleb, and Kyle. And we started the GoFundMe in hopes of supporting their education. It's a scholarship fund. My producer is going to put it in the chat in a few minutes. So if you can, just, you know, even if it's $1, support. Okay. Appreciate you guys. So we're going to get into the show. Tonight, I want to start off with the sponsors. Of course, we have, Miss Fanny Sweet Shop. Shout out to Miss Fanny Sweet Shop, you know, who, gave the family. What's up, Keisha Miller? Good to see you. Keisha in the house. Cuzzo. Keisha Miller, is a dear cousin of mine from Jamaica. And the sponsor of Miss Fanny Sweet Shop, who gave my family a cake, and my mom loved the cake, Miss Fanny Sweet Shop. She loved the pound cake, okay, with the icing on top. So thank you for that. So Miss Fanny Sweet Shop, if you're interested in getting a cake from Miss Fanny Sweet Shop, all you have to do is go to MissFannySweetShop.com, put in the code YES, and you get $5 off your first order. Sponsor number 2 is Bloom Empowerment, who has a college scholarship for all individuals whose kids are going to college. She has a college scholarship. BloomEmpowerment.org. BloomEmpowerment.org. And of course, Our third sponsor for tonight is Dr. Hassan Tedder. drtedder.com. Read The Art of Human Care. I know it's backwards, but it's The Art of Human Care, and it's a series, and this one is called COVID-19. It's a must read. Pick it up. Shout out to Dr. Tedder, drtedder.com. COVID-19. So those are our three sponsors for now. I'm Martin Smallhorne, and this is, yes, your educational story. So for those of you who don't know, I've been in education for 25 years. And the reason why I do this is because we're trying to get at the real understanding of these stories, these journeys through education, because it's not a cookie cutter system, right? Every story is different, right? So tonight we have a very special guest, Mr. Trevor Narain, who's going to share his story. And shout out to Trevor and his family. Trevor, I'm going to invite you on right now so you can share your wonderful educational story. Because as I said, everyone has a story to tell, but what's your educational story? So I'm going to bring on Mr. Trevor Narain. Give me 1 second. Yes. Okay. And Mr. Narain will be joining us. Mr. Narain.
Mr. Smallhorne.
Good to see you, Trev.
Good to see you.
We can only see half your face. I need to see.
Hold on.
No worries. Okay.
Working on it.
All right. Looking like, okay, there you go. A little bit better. How are you?
Good.
I see you're wearing a mask.
Yes, guys. Unfortunately, I will try to pull down my mask as much as I can.
Okay.
It's just that I am in a little bit of a public area where there's a camera on me.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I know that there are new laws that just passed. Well, not laws, but regulation that passed that we could take our masks off, but not in my workspace, unfortunately. So just bear up with me. I'll speak very loud, clear, and we'll work with you.
This is the new normal, Trevor. So it's absolutely fine. And I was just telling everyone about how my brother, we just buried him yesterday because he lost the battle with COVID-19. So I totally understand. What's up, Bland? Shout out to the great educators in the world, like Stephen Bland. Shout out to you, Bland. You're an amazing, not only amazing educator, but an amazing human being. So shout out to Mr. Bland. AKA Antonio Blanderas. That boogie, what's going on? All right, so Trevor, first of all, state your zip code, Trev.
Okay, I represent 10537. That's over in Larchmont, but I'm originally, always will be, 10466 Bronx, New York.
Okay.
And grandmother's still there, so I rep the X always.
Okay. Shout out to the BX. What part of the Bronx is that, Trev?
That's over by East 233rd Street, around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. A lot of the West Indians over there, my fellow.
Yeah.
Shout out to my yardies. That's my yardie. All right. So Trevor, let's share your educational story, my brother.
Of course. I mean, so as you guys know, I went to Lehman High School. I was actually under the first year of YABC when it was first presented over in Lehman High School. So of course, Martin Smallhorne was the principal of the school. He knows I gave him a fair share of headaches, right?
Trevor, before we jump to YABC, I want you to go back a little bit before we jump into high school.
So growing up, I went to kindergarten, right? Long story short, unfortunately, there was a little bit of a separation issue between parents, and I missed a full year of school.
Okay.
There was a little custody battle. Unfortunately, both my parents weren't around at that time, and I was into the whole adoption system with my grandparents and the ward of being a ward of the court. Okay. In due time, my grandmother took custody of me. So I've been through.
I'm sorry. How old were you?
I was around 11 years old.
Okay. All right.
10, 11, I believe. Yeah. And as that time was going, I unfortunately went through a little bit of a struggle as a kid. I was always told that I was a problem child, basically the problem child from that movie, Problem Child. I don't know if any of you guys ever seen.
I'm glad you make. It's nice to make light of it, but at that time, I know, Trevor, it's like you're still a baby, basically. and this is what, middle school at this time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that in the light of that whole situation, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. I guess I didn't really develop properly on understanding what was going on in my life. There was so much complication. I was moved into a new home with my grandparents. I was basically dropped off for a Christmas party
Yeah.
and just left.
Wow. Wow.
And my grandparents took me, and there was just a huge struggle. There was always a problem. I missed school, didn't have any documentation, such as no social security card, birth certificate. There was a lot, and God bless my grandmother. She's alive and doing well. She did her best to, yeah, she did her best to take care of me.
Mm.
But I guess at that time, I never understood. I had a bad problem. I just wasn't, I didn't appreciate what they've done for me.
Okay.
They tried to do for me. The thing is, I neglected to listen.
Mhm.
My form of reality is when I did something wrong, I became a pathological liar.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to do. And instead of facing it and trying to, fix things, what I would do is just run.
Okay.
And I've done that for pretty much all my teenage years. I mean, the middle school was a little bit tough. I was just transitioning to a new school. I was getting into trouble, getting beaten up. Yeah, I wasn't the one doing the beating up. I was the one getting beaten up.
This is and this is why it's the Bronx, right? And the
Yeah,
education, and not only the Bronx but all of New York City. Most of the education, people don't understand. Like when you grow up in certain neighborhoods, the education is really out there in the streets.
it is. It
Unfortunately,
is.
sometimes,
It's
unfortunately,
not just what you know in school, it's what you
yes.
know outside of school. It's, you have to know which way to go home, which is
Mhm.
the right way to go home, what
Mhm.
time to avoid conflict, when you're not supposed to be out in the streets. And I don't know how things are now. Unfortunately, I have not paid too much attention, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it hasn't changed as much.
I'll tell you
Uh,
what hasn't changed: street smarts. Okay, and that's where what Trevor's talking about. Is when you know when to cross the street, and when to keep
exactly.
walking, and when to turn around and go the other way for But that's just part of street smarts and growing up in certain environments, right?
Correct.
So, all
Correct.
right. So you made it out of middle school. What high school did you attend?
Lehman High School.
Oh, you went to
Before I
Lehman.
even,
Okay.
yeah, before I before I jumped the gun to Lehman, I actually went to two middle schools. So
Okay.
I went to MS 113.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, I always wanted to be a cool kid. Let me tell you something. I always wanted to be a cool kid. So I wasn't a leader. I was a follower. I'll
Okay.
tell you that because I got myself into trouble all the time, and it was trouble that was just unnecessary.
Yeah.
After 113, unfortunately, I got myself into so much trouble. I got beat up from bad people,
Mm.
and the school, yeah, I got beat up for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, just so you know, really badly. I had a damaged tissue eye. I had stitches. I was pretty
Trevor,
messed up.
I'm so sorry, Trevor.
Thank you. I mean, it happens, right? You
Yeah.
learn. You learn what you.
It happens. It's not supposed to happen,
No.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, yes.
Went to MS 144. Did pretty well there, and still landed myself into some trouble. I've always had trouble with not only just the learning concept of things, just going to school in general. I used to, from middle school to high school, I cut classes. That was my biggest problem. When I got into high school, I was a rebel. My family, shout out to my aunts, my grandparents, and everyone that tried. They've always had my back. They always tried. They from freshman to junior year,
Yeah.
I lied. I cut school. I did things that I wasn't supposed to do. And I don't want to say I was a smart kid, but I knew I could do good.
Okay.
And I never took that initiative. I always just,
That was actually the question I was going to ask. When because kids cut school for different reasons, but the thing that I always wonder is, were you intimidated by the schoolwork, or did you feel like I don't, it's too easy?
it wasn't even the schoolwork, Mr. Smallhorne. You know what it is? I could have done the schoolwork. It was me being lazy. It was me being lazy, not thinking that this would really take me anywhere in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up from a family that unfortunately, on the ones that I was growing up with, unfortunately, education wasn't as big as a deal as it should have been.
Okay.
And that's why they pushed me to be better. But the more they pushed me, the more I resisted.
Yeah.
I retaliated,
Right.
and I guess it was more of me just it. this is a line that I like to say. Me it took me losing my friends, right? Because not really those friends were not friends. I should say
Okay.
it that way. It
Okay.
took me losing a girlfriend.
Hmm.
It took me losing the trust of my family.
Hmm.
It took me losing almost everything for me to want to gain something, I should say. And in respect to that, when I lost everything, I sat down one day. I remember it was my junior year. I got a little sick. I did some stupid stuff in junior year. And my aunts made one last push. They said, we need you to really try. And then I still retaliated a little bit. They were going to take me out of a day school where all my friends was, and they put me into night school. They put me in with you.
Okay.
And there was multiple factors that kind of made me change a little bit. Because even after high school, I made some mistakes.
Okay.
But I thought maybe after high school, that's it, no more education.
Mhm.
But I remember the day that they took me into the office. You were there, and you said, "What the hell did you do?" You said, "What the hell did you do?" And I looked at you and I said, "Oh, it's like this guy,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because I used to see you in the hallway.
Yeah.
And my aunt sat down with you and pleaded with you and said, "Please take him in."
Yeah.
And you said yes. You didn't. There was no neglect. Let me tell you. I remember that. You just said yes. He's going to come in my program. He's going to graduate.
Yeah.
And I still gave you a hard time. I still wasn't making it in school.
Hmm.
What was I doing? I was too busy being a follower.
Hmm.
I was too busy going out there. I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with all that stuff. I wanted
Yeah.
to. I wanted to feel like I did, but I
Yeah.
didn't. And I used to be a follower. I used to follow these kids. I used to want to go to these hooky parties, and I thought that that's what life is all about.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. I was wrong because when those people turned their backs on me, and everyone turned their backs on me, and I realized that these people are not going to be here forever. This is not going to be here forever. That's where I pretty much everything just went downhill. And I even then I went to school and I started like failing with you guys.
Yeah.
And then I said, man, my family was really angry at me, and they just gave up with me. It was just like when I came home, they didn't even want to. I used to lie through my teeth. I used to say, "Oh yeah, I did go to school," but they know
Yeah.
they said no. And even when I did, this is the problem. Even when I did, they didn't believe me.
Yeah.
Do you blame them? No.
No, no, but I remember meeting you, and for those who don't know, Trevor is referring to the Young Adult Borough Center YBC at Lehman High School,
Hmm.
and I never turn anyone away because I always believe in my heart that I can make a difference, and the team that I surround myself with, the teachers, the school aides, everyone, all the educators, teachers, you know, even the custodian, school safety, understand my philosophy of education that
Correct.
anyone who steps into our home, you're family now. And we're going to do everything in our power to get you not only to the finish line, but on to post-secondary world. And we
Correct.
talk that talk every single day, and even though yes, you gave me a hard time, but I expected that. You know what I mean? Because prior to coming to meet someone like myself, it you have a habit of mind, right? Leading up to someone who, like myself, is as dedicated and committed and serious about really, really, really genuinely wanting you to be successful.
Correct.
And so, yes, you gave me a run for my money, but it was
Yes.
expected, and I am battle tested. So,
And
continue your story.
so yeah, I mean, so when I got into YBC, I continued going. I continued doing things that I was not supposed to do.
Yes.
And I remember one time you even called me on my phone. I said, "Oh crap, the principal's calling me. How did he
Yeah.
get my number?" And I answered. At that time, sidekicks used to be the thing, flipped
Yeah.
over my phone.
Hmm.
And I answered. I spoke to you. You said, "Get your ass back into the class right now." And let me tell you something. I got my ass into class.
Yeah.
I walked back in. Excuse my language. I walked
Yeah.
back into the
It's okay.
classroom, and I continued. And you know what? If it wasn't for my aunts,
Yeah.
shout out to my auntie Ashley, shout out to my grandmother. Listen, I gave her a hard time, and little by little, my grandfather recently passed away last year, and the more and more I realize how vulnerable she is. Thank you, thank you.
Oh man.
The more and more vulnerable I realize she is, the more as I get older, I realize I gave her a hard time, man,
Yeah.
and it was unnecessary. And this is to anybody out there. Listen, I've been through it. I've done stupid things. I grew up with no parents at that time. My dad was seldom, but It just, it was my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles and aunts. They did that push. They didn't need to,
Yeah.
because trust me, I was a pain in the neck. I was a problem child, but they did not need to. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that all of you, everybody there, you, my grandparents, my family, they're the reason why I am the person I am today. You wanted to know what that wow moment was for me, and I
Yes. What's
remember
aha wow moment?
that aha wow moment was when when I actually tried for the first time ever in school, and I walked in there. This is one of the wild moments. There were two moments for me. I remember I only had a few credits left, and everyone's just getting irritated. I was hitting that age limit for YBC, and you guys were just like, "Yo, you need to go." I remember the first time I've ever tried in that program.
Yeah.
I got good grades, and I remember when I brought that report card home, how happy my family looked at me. They were like, "Wow,
Yeah.
maybe there's a change." And I only
Yeah.
pushed that hard because I lost something. I lost their trust. And losing their trust and losing your family's trust is hard. It's
Yes, it
hard
is.
to do that. It's hard to do that. You may lie, but losing their trust, and I did that. I pushed to the bottom of the totem pole, and it took that to get me where I am.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got, I remember when I brought that report card home, and they looked at me and they smiled and they were like, "Okay, that's good." For the first time ever, my grandma was like, "Good job."
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? That's what I needed.
Yeah.
That's what I needed." And maybe sometimes you just need that. You need that
Yeah.
emotional support. And I got that.
And you,
But
Trevor, you were always smart. You were always smart. But and I think I used to tell you this. It's not your past is your past. Leave it there.
sure,
It's hard to bury the past when everyone's carrying a shovel. Just
sure.
leave it, brother.
Yeah,
And you failed, but you failed forward, which is good. And you learned from your mistakes.
correct.
So, and shout out to your family, because so many times, you feel like you're alone out there, but you're really not.
No,
Family's always there. So
yeah.
shout out to everyone who supported you. Did you ever reconcile with your parents?
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not close to them.
Okay.
And I guess there's still that there's still a lot of time to grow
Yeah.
and learn. Unfortunately, I don't have that emotional attachment as a child would have with their parents.
Yeah.
I felt abandoned. I still kind of do in some ways, but in some ways, I've connected with them. I've spoken to them. We've seen each other through family. We've somehow spotted each other. But that was that. I don't want to listen. What I've done was on me. Everything
Yeah.
I've done is on me. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna make excuses and say, "Oh, I was emotionally troubled as a kid." I was, but that's 60%. The other 40%
Mhm.
was my decisions. Everyone has a choice,
Yes.
and there's always, even if you make a bad choice, there's always another choice you can make later on. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how low you fall. You
Mhm.
can always get back up. And I've learned that throughout. Because even after high school, I went to college and I still was doing bad things. You know what? I was doing good in
Yeah.
school, but I still had a problem. And I couldn't, it took multiple cycles to break that. It took, you know what it is? I was inspired by other people. I
Yeah.
started actually paying when I went to Rockland Community College. I started off RCC, went through a couple. I went to take some classes over at Pace. It took everything for me to actually break this cycle.
Yeah.
And you know what it was? I was watching other. It's when you start going to school, you elevate to another level, right?
Yeah.
I had to move to Rockland County, right? And
Yeah.
I went to another completely different from the Bronx. So Bronx kid going to Rockland County for college.
Big shift. Very
It's
big shift.
huge. It's huge. And I
Tremendous.
always looked over my shoulder.
Okay.
Till that day, I always looked over my shoulder. When I went over there, I looked over to my shoulder. I never used to talk like this. I
Yeah.
used to be one of those kids that cursed in every other sentence, that said
Yeah.
I said the wrong words, which I was not supposed to say, but that's what I was taught. That's what I was raised to believe.
Yeah.
And little by little, I got my first job. You know, I ended up going
That's
to.
all about Mel, by the way, who's chiming in, being a good friend for some time. Trevor, you're amazing. And you do what you can to help others break cycles. I know you motivated me quite a time.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you. Much
Super proud of
love.
you, bro.
Mel is a wonderful young woman, by the way.
Uh-huh.
She works very hard, very good in her call. She works for a couple of car dealerships. If you
Okay.
guys need a car, that's Mel right there. Just give her that little sponsorship.
Shout out to Mel. I'll be coming to see you, Mel.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no. going into college, it was my surroundings, and you know what? Surroundings play a huge part. And I went to school with a little minor of psychology, and I learned a lot more about myself. It's funny when you pick up a book and you actually read, because I'll tell you right now, even through high school, I did not read. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I studied what I had to study, and I did what I had to do, and I passed my tests. But I didn't read. I never picked up a book and actually sat down and read a book.
And that's amazing, because what did I always push? The book in the bag campaign, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Always.
There you go.
I was always given it. In fact, was it at that time where I think I required students to have a novel?
If you did not have a novel, you would stop us in the hallway, tell us to pull out the book from our book bag. And I had one, but I never listened.
Oh my God.
We had book reports. One of the requirements was a book report, and you would randomly select us. Yes. I think it's a great habit. You'd randomly select us to tell us, what did you write?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you stay ready, you never have to get ready.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And that mentality is something that is it's something that I now, in this late stages, as I'm getting older and I'm going I'm getting in my middle 30s soon.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm still, I'm a big kid. I'm not a full adult yet. I'm a big kid because little by little, yes, I have a good career now. I'm doing things what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. But you always learn. As I get older, I learn. I look at the environments, and you know what? At this time, now that I'm able to help, I'm going to help.
Yes.
I'm going to give back to what I have to, I will do what I have to do for anyone. I'll tell you guys about what I do a little bit later in the show, but, and back to the topic of...
Yeah, Rockland. Yeah, so you moved to Rockland County.
Moved to Rockland County, new kids, didn't have any friends. Let me tell you something. My first semester in college, had no friends. I turned, I was just quiet. I was in the back. I knew these guys, and I always had this pressure. Like I don't know why. I've always had this negative pressure. Like somebody's gonna want to mess with me. Let me always watch out. I don't know. I've always watched over.
It's growing up. It's growing up in our environment. Well, it's the hood. It's the hood. You're always you're on. You're always on because you're it's just street smarts, man. It's just growing up in the hood. It's just something that comes with the territory. So now you're thrusted into this whole different environment. Where you're not looking over your shoulder all the time.
Correct. Yeah. And as somebody from Brooklyn, and I know that you've been around too, I'm sure you've had some kind of similar feeling to that, right?
Oh yeah.
I felt it.
Listen, when I went away to Stony Brook University, leaving Brownsville, first of all, shout out to Brownsville. But leaving Brownsville, Brooklyn, and going to Stony Brook, that's a shift. That's a whole nother universe. And, but you first you're in shock, right? It's a culture shock. It's the shock of just education. Everything is a shock. But, the one thing you learn about yourself right away is that you're battle tested and you're a little bit more prepared for an environment like that than someone who actually grows up in that environment.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And in respect to that, it's to the respect of looking over your shoulder. I didn't mean it in a way where I'm looking over my shoulder to fight. I just always felt that I didn't, I had a feeling of misplacement because now I'm around people. I'm in college. I'm in this new world, right? I'm going to a school, and it's a 2-year school. And shout out to anyone that's continuing their education. Yeah. It's a 2-year school, and I turned my back. And I looked at these guys, and they're intelligent people. I'll tell you that. There are a lot of intelligent people out there. I turn around and I see these guys actually taking school serious. In my mind, that's not what I grew up knowing. I just, in my mind, I messed around and I graduated high school. But when I see these guys actually sitting down, doing homework, I remember that they set me up for my first group assignment, and I had this girl next to me, this girl as my partner. And I looked at her, and we were communicating with each other via email. Yeah. And we met up at the library to do the assignment. And I'm just kind of on my phone doing my thing, and she's working. And this girl's putting in the work, and I'm sitting down there. She got irritated, emailed our professor, and she said, "I can't work with this guy. He's not doing any work." The professor pulled me to the side. At that time, I was living with my other side family, who, I started initiating my life back a little bit with them. This is my mother's side. Shout out to them because they got me through college. Okay. They got me to push through my boundaries. Okay. And they had a different lifestyle from the lifestyle we had in the Bronx. Okay, this is a suburban lifestyle. There, everything is about you know, they own their own vitamin store over in New York City, 83rd, 87th and 3rd Avenue,
Okay.
and they gave me my first job at the vitamin store, and
Okay.
I went with them, and I worked. We used to wake up. This is the first time I actually learned responsibilities of how to
Yeah.
work. Went from 3 o'clock 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
every day, and they would let me go home. And then we would always drive to Rockland County. And long story short, that's where that responsibility aspect started coming in. Now I'm actually working. I took the initiative of working,
Mhm.
saving some money, and they took those baby steps and they helped me understand that that's how life goes. You
Yeah.
got to wake up early in the morning, you got
Yes.
to go towards your goals, and then you go and you finish whatever you have to finish. And that's life. I learned that slowly but surely.
Yeah.
As I went along into that, I got my first job as a salesman in Sears,
Okay.
Sears and Roebuck.
All right.
Okay, I went into Sears and Roebuck. Sears and Roebuck. I was still going to school, and let me tell you something. Sears and Roebuck was a was a fun job, but it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I worked overnights. I hustled, man, and
Yeah.
you know that's the first time because when you start earning your own money,
Yeah.
you start to feel independent. You have a nice little paycheck. At that time, $500 every 2 weeks seemed like a lot of money to somebody like me.
Yeah.
And I went and I was doing it on my own. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking I'm gonna survive off of this,
Yeah.
right? So guess what I started doing when I was going to RCC?
What?
I went back into my old habits. I started breaking. I went into school, and you know what? It was a bad habit. I started cutting school. I lied about it. I
Trevor.
drove the car. I
Trevor.
drove. Yeah.
Okay. So did you finish Rockland?
I did not. In fact, I transferred,
Where
and
did you
that's where
transfer?
I finished. I transferred to just to shout out to this college. I went to Empire State College,
Okay. Shout out to Empire.
Empire, and it's one of the SUNYs that PACE is aligned with. By the way, I have great
Okay.
connections. Anyone that wants to talk to me about it, I'll be more than happy to assist you. Um, what happened was I cut school, and you know what?
Yeah.
This is why I always say it's never too late because I dropped out
So dropped out.
for about a year and a half. I
Okay.
dropped out. And when I
How
dropped
how
out,
old are you, how old are you at that time?
I was about 23 years old.
Okay. But you didn't when you left school, what was the plan? Because you know that this is going on.
I thought I would keep the job at Sears.
Mhm.
I thought that I'd keep going. I thought that Sears would support me.
Yeah.
I thought that little $500 paycheck every 2 weeks that I got was going to help me out.
Five
And when,
hundred dollars every 2 weeks.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna get to what that looks like to you
Oh
now.
well, now $500 in 2000 and in 2010, by the way, was kind of not that bad.
Trevor, let's not play, okay? Five hundred
No,
dollars
no.
every two
There's no
weeks.
excuses, guys. There's no excuses. No, there's no excuses.
Let's not kid the folks here,
Yeah,
okay?
listen, guys, I'll tell you this. I made a lot of stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
I made a lot of mistakes. And I don't want to call them stupid because that's what taught me that,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not going to want to make $15 a year. You know,
Yeah.
I'm $15 an hour a year. I'm not going to want to make $25 an hour a year. No, I'm not going to want to make $30 an hour a year because you know what? At this time, and that's where this elevates. So let me tell you something. My first real job, dropped out of SUNY, lost my job at Sears.
Wow.
I got fired. You want to know why? Because I was showing up late to Sears. And it was, you know, I broke my other side family's trust because I was doing stupid things. I lied about school. I lied about work.
Mhm.
And guess where I was again? I was even worse now than the totem pole because now kind of lost the trust of the family in Rockland.
Uh-huh.
And then the family in the Bronx was just disappointed in me again. They're like, Trevor, what is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Even I didn't know why I was doing this.
But it happens.
It happens.
It happens. And
It
and life
happens.
is not over, and people need to understand that
It happens.
this is part of your life. This is the journey, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's not always going to be rosy. There are going to be mistakes. And if you're not participating in life, none of
Yep.
these things are happening.
Correct.
You understand? But you
Correct.
never gave up.
I did it.
So now let's transition into what happens.
What happens now?
What's the change?
This is the positive, and I was just getting there.
Yeah.
What happened there is that I lost my job, and I was depressed. I was at home for about a couple of months. I didn't know what to do. And I sat down, and you know what? At this time, I was a bum. I felt like a bum. I wasn't a bum. I felt like a bum. I felt like I just didn't have anything. I felt like, you know what? I just went from a very nice neighborhood where I was going to school. I had family supporting me. I had a little job where I had side money where I had no bills, to now having credit card debt, to
Hmm.
now having no school, no future education. I lost my financial aid because, once you fail a couple of classes,
Yeah.
that's, and unfortunately, you're not going to get that aid anymore. So, what, no more school
Yeah.
in that aspect. And um, I remember for months I started looking for a job. I applied everywhere. I knew I wasn't qualified for a lot of them. I
Yeah.
applied everywhere. And shout out to the first company that propelled me to the man I am. I went towards Chase Bank. They contacted me. They asked me to be a teller.
Really?
Yep, yeah. I went towards Chase Bank, went towards the teller role, and that's where I realized I was a good negotiator. I was
Yeah.
not bad. It took,
Okay.
and in that environment, I started meeting people. So I had a good job. I was actually over in Bronxville, New York, a very beautiful area, affluent area. And it was the
Mhm.
first time I started now meeting these affluent individuals.
Yeah.
I started hearing them talk. I started hearing the way that they were interact with each other. They would interact with the bankers. They would interact with their advisors. And I remember just one day sitting down there, and this was my other aha moment. I said, I want to be able to do what those guys are doing.
Okay.
I sat down. I said, I want to be able to talk to people that way. I
Hmm.
want to be better. I want to be like that. And shout out to one of my first managers ever, David.
Okay.
He looked at me and he said, I see a lot of potential in you. I want you to do this.
All right.
Went over,
Hmm.
started doing that, started doing these referrals. I got better. Then David sat down and said, Trevor, I want to talk to you about the way you talk. And he didn't mean it in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Instead of saying the word
what did
yo,
he mean by that?
instead of, in a sentence, it's that, because that's the way I spoke,
Yeah.
instead of, listen. The word he says, always listen before you
Yes.
speak. So that's the one thing I always had a problem with. I always have to communicate and talk
Yeah.
with you.
Hmm.
Listen, negotiate, talk to clients,
Yeah.
understand the environment.
Hmm.
And in the way that he meant it, I hate to say it this way, is that I always had I always sucked my teeth. I always
Yeah.
had these bad pet peeves. I just couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
He turned around and he said, Trevor, let's start on this. Let's not talk that way. I want you to speak this way.
Yeah.
I started learning. Hi, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Not, hey, how's it going? No, not speak formally. And little by little, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure why he was doing that. I kind of resented him a little bit because I was like, why is this guy always picking on me? Why is he always,
Meanwhile, he's mentoring you
he's
and trying to
mentoring
get
me.
you to a certain.
Mentally, he was mentoring me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Trev, so what is it that you currently do now?
So I do multiple things. My main job, I work for M&T Bank. Shout out to M&T Bank.
Shout out to M&T.
What I do is I help individuals in all aspects of their lives. I mostly focus on small businesses and nonprofits and financial structures for young individuals now.
Yeah.
One of the things I sat down with my manager was we spoke about how to assist individuals that need that help, give them financial literacy. One of the things that I never knew how to do was how to pay my credit card,
Uh-huh.
how to balance my books, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What we came out with, and I brought it up to my manager and the higher ups, and we just went above and beyond, is that we want to help the young individuals in high school who do not know
Hmm.
how life really works. So let me tell you something. You will spend most of your life banking. Credit runs your life.
Yeah.
I will tell you that. Without credit, unfortunately, things will become three times harder. I made that mistake when I was young. I fixed it now, and I'm here to help you guys grow and learn. That's what I do now. I educate. I created this program. The first thing I thought of was all the people that I grew up around. When I came out of high school, I didn't even know what a checking account was.
Yeah.
Who knows? I always thought that there was a credit card and you could put money in there and just pay. There were so
Yeah.
many things, and
Hmm.
that's what I do. I educate. On the side of that, I'm a little entrepreneur. I buy goods, I sell goods. I work for a company that I do their financial bookings, W-2s. I do things, and W-2s is basically your tax statements at the end of the year. I do multiple things, and the factor, a little bit of a hustler. It took me learning from Chase Bank where they pushed me to get my education, that manager, to going to other companies. That's when I realized my self-worth.
Yeah.
When I learned my self-worth, I pushed myself. I went to school. I went back into school. I did it part-time, guys. I only finished school 4 years ago. So I'm just letting you guys know. Thank you. Thank you. It took.
You never gave up.
Never gave up. And let me tell you something. That's when I also realized my worth. And I'm still going. You know, that's where you're going to realize $20 is not going to be good enough. $30 is not going to be good enough. 45 is not going to be good enough. When you start making $50 an hour, that's where you're going to sit down and you're going to look at yourself at the mirror. You're going to say, you know, I'm doing well. And you always got to tell yourself, keep going. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to get you people started with that. I'm here to educate, give you guys the tools that you need. I have quite a few contacts on LinkedIn. You just tell me what you need and I'm here for you.
Talk that talk, Trevor. The kid that was a troublemaker, the kid that, you know, were having troubles in schools, the kid that dropped out, the kid that had everything, that lost everything.
Correct.
Hit rock bottom, but never gave up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So failure is not when you hit the ground; it's when you choose not to get back up.
Correct.
And you always got back up. And Trevor, Narain, listen, thank you for sharing this impactful story. Listen, how do people get in contact with you? If they want financial assistance or just some...
Guys, the first, you know, I know it's hard to put my number in this chat and keep it there. DM me. You have my Instagram right now. You DM me. What I'll do is, if you guys have any questions, you could always contact Mr. Smallhorne or you know, my number is open book. I would definitely be more than happy to share it with you. I have an email. It's tnarain@mtb.com. Mm-hmm. You guys could always get to me for anything. Look me up on LinkedIn. It's Trevor Narain. Very simple. I'm here to assist anyone. If anyone needs any direction, I'm here for you. And that's what I do. I'm giving back to my community the same way my community gave to me. And I want to say something. And you know what? I never got a chance. I know that we're going to be ending soon. But listen, I never got a chance to tell you my condolences on Corsell.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry. And I'd like to take just 30 seconds of my time just to do a moment of silence with you.
Yes, absolutely.
And do this for everyone who has lost their lives to COVID-19. I've had COVID-19, guys, and it's not a joke. I was very sick, and I could tell you that if someone my age, and I'm not the healthy, but I'm healthy for my age, and I'll tell you that, imagine what it can do to other people. You guys make your own decisions. You guys are adults, and some of you guys are your own person. Use your head. That's all I have to say. And just a quick 30-second moment of silence.
All right, we're going to do that right now. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for that moment of silence. Shout out to my brother Corsell Smallhorne, who again lost his life to and to all victims of COVID-19. I buried my baby brother yesterday, 43 years young, and COVID-19. It's, you know, look, like Trevor said, we're not going to preach to you and tell you wear a mask, don't take the vaccine, don't take it. All I can tell you is that I can only share my experience, and Trevor's shared his about, you know, having COVID-19 as well. You know, Trevor, you're an amazing, amazing individual. I knew you were amazing back in high school. You know, we all need to trust our journey through life. And, you know, once you never stop pushing forward and moving forward, you arrive at the destination that you're supposed to end up in. All right? Things always work out. Tonight's quote: every negative experience holds the seed of transformation. Every negative experience holds the seed of transformation. Every negative experience holds the seed of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen of YBC, ladies and gentlemen of Yes, you got me thinking about YBC. Looking at you.
Back in school, baby. Back in school.
I remember the trauma that Trevor caused me. That's why. But and believe me, it was a lot of fun, brother. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing your educational story. And as always, everyone has a story to tell, but what's your educational story? I do have a couple more sponsors that I have to share with you guys because we're picking up a lot of sponsors. Shout out to Nicolette Emerson Massage Therapy, NicoletteEmerson.com. Get NicoletteEmerson.com, log on. You get the best massage ever, and you get a 10% off your first massage if you enter the code YES20. Also, of course, Florida Rum Cake is in the building, FloridaRumCake.com. You get $5 off your purchase of FloridaRumCake.com once you mention YES, YES, and you'll get $5 off your purchase at Florida Rum Cake. I do want to say, again, shout out to everyone who supported my family and, through this journey of this, unprecedented COVID-19 experience with Corsell Smallhorne. It's this COVID-19 is no joke, man. Again, shout out to everyone who's going through that right now, and stay safe, people. Stay safe. And to you, Trevor Narain, you matter in this world. Okay.
Thank you.
And I have to tell you that I'm beyond proud of you. I'm beyond proud of you, young man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You've come a long way. And Trevor, by the way, where's your family from?
So my family, I just want to say we're Guyanese all the way.
Guyanese all the way.
Yeah, Indian
GT
Guyanese. GT. I have a beautiful family now. I have a beautiful significant other, my wife. She's also from the Caribbean, and she's great. She does everything well. I became a little bit of a man now. I don't play around anymore.
All right, gotcha. What's her name, Trevor?
It's Elizabeth. So her name is Elizabeth. She's on here earlier. Her name is Lizzie, Miss Lizzie.
All right.
Yeah, and she's definitely the backbone who makes me want to do more. Keep going,
Well, shout out to Elizabeth, man, and shout out to you, Trevor, and continued success. And we'll see you soon, Miss Lizzie. Shout out to you. Big up, Miss Lizzie.
God bless you. God bless your family.
All
I hope
right.
your family goes through these times, and I hope everything goes through smoothly with you guys. All right. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. It was a little bit of a therapy.
No. And thank you, Trevor. And everyone has a story to tell, but what's your educational story? Please DM me if you're interested in sharing your story, and we would love to have you on. Trevor, peace, and thank you, brother.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, take care.